Hello friends, before I get into the video, I just want to take a quick second to mention that I'm currently fundraising with Game Changers Australia 2024 with Starlight's Children's Foundation as well. Now I'm currently doing a giveaway for this where if you donate $20 Australian or more, you go into the running to win some prizes. And thanks to Ubisoft ANZ, I have some games and some premium currencies to give away as well. And on top of that, I'm going to give away one Commander Magic the Gathering set. I haven't decided on what set it's going to be, so it could be a Warhammer set, it could be Bloomberg, it could be who knows, but the winner will get a random Magic Commander set because I think Magic's a pretty fun game. And secondly, if you're a Warhammer fan like I am, you could win yourself a box of whatever you want in regards to whatever faction you play. So if you play Orcs, I'll send you something Orc related. If you play the Soulblight Gravelords, I'll send you something Vampire related for Age of Sigmar. Or if you play Star Wars Legion, I'll send you something Star Wars Legion related. All you need to know is click the link in the description below. $20 donation or more gets you in the running to win. I will announce the winners on my YouTube channel, on my Twitter, on my Twitch, however I can announce it and so you're aware of who's won what, as well as if you've won, reach out to me as well on Twitter. I'll start getting those prizes organised for you. Thanks for your time, let's get into the video. With the upcoming release of Star Wars Outlaws and Space Marine 2, two games that will most likely hold my attention for some time, I've been in the mood to play a game with some mates that's just mindless fun, where I can have a drink or two and make random movie and song references and just switch my brain off.
Commando Elite, fall in!
And for a little while now, I've seen and kept my eye on Hypercharged Unboxed, a indie game where you play as action figures, and it looks like Toy Story and Small Soldiers as a shooter, and after seeing some gameplay footage and some social media ads, I decided to pull the plastic trigger and give it a crack. And I've got to say, it's actually pretty damn fun.
That's good.
Releasing back in 2020 and developed by Digital Cyber Cherries, Hypercharged Unboxed is a first or third person horde wave shooter where you play as action figures and you face off against toys. And think of it as Toy Story meets Gears of War's Horde mode just a little bit, and well, that's the main PvE mode of the game. Now there is a separate PvP mode and it is what you'd expect from a shooter, but I will get back to that just a little bit later on in the video. As well as I played Hypercharge Unboxed, as you can see, on my PC with the PC controls at the bottom of the screen, but I understand as well this is also on Xbox, so the review would probably be for both players. The story of Hypercharged Unboxed is pretty straightforward. It is a war waged between good and evil, loved toys and toys that were kept in their packaging and they were getting jealous because they weren't getting played with. It's also a story that is explained with comic book interactions at the start of each PvE mission, and while yeah, it is a bit of filler, it did actually get some laughs out of me here and there, I will admit.
Okay.
But the main story or mode of the game is essentially tower defense, where you'll start in, say, a kid's bedroom, and then moving to different maps like garages and kitchens and bathrooms and outdoor playgrounds and jungle gyms and toy stores. Now, each mission is the same. You break yourself out of the toy packaging, you set up some defenses, and you survive a couple of waves of enemies while defending the towers, which of course constantly have the attention of the enemies. And as you'd expect, as you progress in the game, in general you will face off against new enemies and bosses.
Pretty standard, really.
Now, before a wave of enemies comes in, you're given a couple minutes to do a few things. Firstly, set up defenses such as mines or anti-air towers to fight against flying enemies, or barbed wire to slow enemies down, or Lego blockades that can be placed around towers that you're defending. All of these defenses though require coins, which are earned in two ways: by killing enemies and by picking up currency that they drop, or by exploring the level and picking up currency scattered around the map. The currency can be used for upgrading your weapons as well, such as equipping attachments, which also fits into the world of toys and action figures so damn well. You'll find new weapon upgrades like stocks and scopes, grenade launchers, shotguns, flamethrowers, miniguns, lasers, and so much more. And you'll find these just by pulling the attachments out of your action figure packaging, sort of like when you buy a toy and you have a couple of accessories that come with it.
Look, Maggie! It's Sergeant Thug's mountaintop command post, complete with Deathbringer missiles that really launch.
But the way the weapons work in Hypercharged Unboxed isn't like a standard shooter where you just swap out to a different weapon. Instead, they work a little bit like attachments for your weapon. You can hold two primary sort of firing modes at once, as well as other attachments. For example, you start off a mission, say, with a shotgun, and as you'd expect, it's not great at ranged combat. But between waves of enemies, you can spend your money unlocking attachments from toy cases, like, say, the sniper rifle attachment, which becomes a bit more of like a under-mounted grenade launcher, sort of like with what we see with Buck in Rainbow Six, how he's got the under-mounted shotgun attachment. But by scrolling on your mouse wheel, you'll simply rotate the front of the gun and swap the weapon attachment around, which I actually thought was pretty rad. From here too, yes, you can find stocks and sights, bipods, and each weapon upgrade as well will give you just a quick info dump on how it improves your weapon. And some weapon attachments too will also take up 2 of the weapon slots, if you will, like the flamethrower for example. So if you want to pick up and use the flamethrower, you will need to drop the shotgun and the sniper rifle in order to equip it.
That's a damn minigun!
But that's the way that the sort of gun combat works in this game. You don't change your gun, you change your attachments, which changes the gameplay, if that makes sense. The kicker is though that if you die during a round, you will respawn about 10 seconds later or so, but you will respawn back in your packaging with your original gun. Which, yeah, you can run off into the map and then find your weapon where you died and picked it back up, but other players can also pick up your weapons if they want to as well. And hearing my mates fight over who died and where they died so they can run over and pick up their jetpack is pretty damn hilarious. So Hypercharge Unboxed is a pretty straightforward tower defense for its PvE, but well, what about its PvP? Well, it's a bit more generic. You've got free-for-all, which is exactly what you think it is. There's team deathmatch, where there is a red team and a blue team. There's King of the Hill, there's infection, there's all the standards. But what kind of worked for me with the PvP was that if you can't find a lobby full of players, the game will actually just drop you into a round full of bots, and then the game will actually start dropping players who want to play that game mode into that round, and it kind of worked for me. It's just simple enough for me and another mate to sort of play a couple of rounds, shoot some bots, shoot each other, and just have a laugh.
You dirty bastard!
But the charm of Hypercharged Unboxed is the enemies and the character customization. You're not playing as characters like you would in Gears of War or a random military goon like in Call of Duty. Here in Hypercharge, you're playing as a toy of your creation and choosing, and the customization is pretty damn rad. You'll start off with a base toy to work with, which will include something like a G.I. Joe corpse kind of action hero, a dinosaur lizard man, a Valkyrie hero, a undead knight. From here you can then pick their heads, like their helmets and radios for the action hero, or a skeleton head or an undead head for the knight, or different dinosaur heads for the lizard. Then you basically pick the paint job or skin, or if you're a toy collector like me, the variant of the action figure and what colour their weapons will be. But finally, for sheer stupid fun, you can pick the packaging that your action figure comes in and name them, and the name will appear on the box, which is pretty damn rad. But as you guessed too, as you further play the game, you will unlock new action figures to use, and there are no microtransactions for this game. That is a plus. There is DLC that will give you more action figures to use, but it's not like Fortnite where there is a in-game store with in-game currency. The customization options here though are near damn endless, and seeing what you and your mates create with the action figures and their names is pretty damn rad. And looking at the box of the action figure too and just reading a bit of the blurb, it's kind of funny seeing that the brand is called Narbro and it obviously looks like Hasbro, and it gets a lot of laughs out of me sometimes when I look at it. The enemies though are so varied and impressive, it honestly had me losing my shit when a friend would call out enemies as if we're playing Call of Duty or Battlefield to be taken seriously, but they're calling out a damn My Little Pony who's shooting stars at us and they're riding a cloud.
Did you see that? I was imperiled by that ferocious charging buck.
We've got generic army men that we've all seen at some point of our lives. There's My Little Ponies, there's Rock'em Sock'em robots, Beyblades that will spin in, deal a heap of damage, and then they'll scatter away. There's helicopters, there's jets, there's aliens with UFOs, there's Power Rangers that will deal proper damage, and then there's boss fights like the Mecha Dinosaur and Giant Robots. It's all pretty damn creative stuff, and obviously they can't use the licensing for My Little Pony or Power Rangers, but us as the player know that Ninja Joes are Power Rangers. Hypercharge Unboxed is a damn fun, wacky indie game for sure, but there are some areas for improvement, at least in my opinion. The game's mode with its PvE tower defense, yes, it's creative, it's fun, there are a variety of maps, and as you progress you have more areas to defend. There are harder enemies and such as well, but as the gameplay is the same thing over and over again, you kinda need your mates to really enjoy this. The game modes with PvE tower defense. Yes, it's creative and fun, sure. There are a variety of maps, and as you progress more, there are more areas to defend and harder enemies and such, but as the gameplay is the same over and over again, you kinda need mates to really enjoy this. I played about maybe an hour by myself with bots, and while the bots will do the job, yes, it's not as entertaining as playing with friends, and it also makes the side objectives that you will get for each map much more entertaining, like making those incredibly difficult platforming jumps more entertaining when you're playing them with friends because you'll just interact and have laughs with them.
You stupid.
The combat for Hypercharge is also pretty damn good, but as I mentioned, there are side challenges or objectives for each level, which I personally think are great. You do really feel like an action figure or toy just exploring the room like with what we see in Toy Story, but the controls for jumping and platforming feel a little loose and unrefined in some instances. Sure, the controls are serviceable and you can easily jump around with double jumps and such, but there is a bit of a learning curve I found at least with how to gauge the double jumps or grab ledges and trying to reach tricky areas of the map with hidden collectibles. It does take some time to sort of get the flow of platforming. Finally, the only other thing I can think of is, yes, Hypercharged is entertaining with mates and has a great theme. Its gameplay mechanics work well with that theme too, and yeah, you can play it in first person or third person, but I don't think it's got a long shelf life. It's good for a few hours or so, and it worked great for me as a filler game between some new releases, but I think it needs more or maybe some new PvE styles to bring players back to it after they've already played it. Yes, the tower defense has great enemies, locations, weapons and such, but there's only so much defending you can really do. But do I recommend that you should take a look at Hypercharge Unboxed? Yeah, totally. I think it's great to play with mates, but I also think it'll be great for parents to play with their kids or playing as a family, as there's no gore, there isn't overly much violence because it's toys fighting toys, and the enemy variants will have parents laughing. But whether you remember having your Power Rangers fight your Transformers as a kid or you kept your toys in their original packaging, always remember to play with each other and play with yourself.